Welcome again. Now that we've registered ourselves on the QuaQua booking platform, it's time to book our first real meeting. Let's dive in. To get started with setting up a booking for a meeting, visit booking.quaqua.be to get to the login page if you are not logged in already. Once you are on the login page, click on the Sign In button to log in. When you did the registration process on the same computer that you are using now, you'll see a page with your previously created workspaces. Click on the workspace you want to make a booking under. The workspace button will then expand, so now you are able to fill in your password and press login. Be aware that if you are using another computer, or you have emptied your browser cache recently, you'll encounter an empty login screen. If this is the case, fill in the workspace you want to book the meeting under. Then fill in your email, the correct password and press the login button. We are going to book our first meeting now, so click on the New Meeting button. A window will pop up, in which we can fill in a name for the meeting. As an example, we will use Introduction Meeting as the meeting title. Now we can click on the Create Meeting button. We now have a few steps to go through, as you can see on the left side of the screen. The first one is setting the start and end time of the meeting and the time zone. We can also add an optional description to further describe the meeting. Note that all the fields, marked with a red asterisk, are required fields. You can save your progress at any time by clicking on the Save Changes button in the top right corner. We can now proceed to the next step by clicking on the Settings tab on the left. On this page, we can start adding the different languages that we need interpreted during the meeting. When we click on the Add Languages field, a drop-down menu opens where we can select all the necessary languages. For this meeting, I will add 4 languages: French, English, German and Italian. In the next step, we will set the maximum amount of users that we are expecting in the meeting. You can choose between 25, 50, 100 or 150 users. We also have to decide on how many microphones can be active at the same time. Remember that more open mics can cause people to talk through each other, so it's best to try to keep this at a minimum. You can choose from 1 up to 4 microphones that are active at the same time. The conference mode is the next choice we have to make. We have 3 types of conference modes available. The first mode is open access. This means that if the maximum number of microphones has not been reached, participants can take the floor directly. If someone forgets to turn off his microphone, the chairperson or the meeting manager can do it for him. Then we have request list. When an attendee turns on his microphone, he will be first in the queue. The chairperson or the session moderator may give him or her the floor. And FIFO, this means that attendees can take the floor directly. When the maximum number of microphones is reached, the microphone of the person who has been in the list of active speakers the longest is turned off. This is especially a good solution for participants who always forget to turn off their microphone. A few more settings are available. Allow open registrations. If you disable this, you organize a private meeting in which only participants that were added to the attendee list will be able to join through a meeting link. Whether you want extra information from the participants displayed during the meeting. The choices here are either no information is shown, their country, or their organization. A personal PIN code can also be sent out to the invitees to ensure extra security, as it will be required to join the meeting if this option is activated and a PIN code is filled out in this field. The last option on this page is whether you choose to log the chat messages or not that are being sent during the meeting. Now it's time to proceed to the next tab on the left of the page, the meeting agenda. On this page you can add all the agenda items that need to be discussed during the meeting. There are 2 ways to go about this. You can input them all manually one by one, or you can opt to use an Excel template that can be downloaded here, but we'll talk more about this later. We'll first start out adding the items manually. To do this, press the green Add Agenda Item button. A form pops up to fill in an agenda item with the following fields to fill out. Item title. Here, you can give a clear description of the item to be discussed. Voting options. Should a vote be held after the discussion of the item? There are 3 options here. Option 1, no vote is necessary. Option 2, vote can be called by simple yes or no. Option 3, vote can be called by yes, no or abstain. You also have the option to make the votes public or keep them anonymously. The last field on the form is to pick a sorting order for the agenda item you've just created. The lowest numbers go to the top of the list, the highest numbers to the bottom. Okay, when all these fields are filled in, you can press Add to make this item a part of the agenda list. As you can see, I have manually added 7 more items to the agenda, of which the last one is a voting call. There is an easier and quicker way to do this, using the Excel template that you can download here by clicking the Import button. What you'll get is a simple template in which you can fill in the complete agenda all at once and then upload it through drag and drop. The same is valid for the results of the votes. By using the Export button, you'll download an Excel which shows the vote results after the meeting. Alright, now that we've finished setting up the meeting agenda, let's click on the next tab on the left side of the screen. Here we will learn about the attendees and the different roles they can have in a meeting. In this section we will be starting to add attendees for the meeting. If you book a meeting with open registration, adding attendees is not required. But we strongly recommend always adding a meeting manager or chairperson to manage your meeting. The role of the chairperson or meeting manager is to moderate the meeting, so obviously, they have more rights than all other attendees. To add an attendee manually, click on the green button in the top right corner. A pop-up form will appear that enables you to invite attendees one by one. If you click on the purple field of the form, you can start inviting attendees. As soon as you start typing, a small drop-down menu will appear that says, Create an attendee. This is because it is the first time that you invite a certain attendee. Click anywhere on the form and a larger form will pop up, so that you can fill in their complete details like first name, last name and email address. We then have to decide on the meeting role that we are going to give to this attendee. Press here and you'll get a drop-down menu with the different roles available. I'll explain a bit more about the different meeting roles in another tutorial. The next field is optional. Attendees can fill in their organization name if they so desire. And last but not least, we have to decide if we want to grant voting rights to the attendee. You can choose this by flicking the button on or off. When everything is set, you will see the Add Attendee button change from light to dark green. This means we can click it and continue with adding our next attendee. If you already booked previous meetings in a workspace with certain people, the QuaQua platform will remember their details, and it will be a lot quicker to add them as an attendee to your meetings. For example, we have Jane Rivers here, who used the platform before. When we enter her name in the purple fill-in field, her name pops up in the drop-down menu. When we choose it, a new pop-up reveals itself with most of her personal data already filled in. Isn't this convenient? Now we only have to choose the role she has in this meeting. The next step is to, optionally, fill in the name of her organization. And let's not forget to set if she has the right to cast votes in this meeting. After this is done, just press the green button at the right bottom of the form to add Jane Rivers to the attendees. Now what would you say, that there is a much simpler way to add attendees to the QuaQua platform, similar to the way we added multiple agenda points at once, through an Excel template import. To do this, click on the Import button at the right top of the screen. A pop-up window will show where you can download 2 different Excel templates. The first Excel sheet serves to import data for multiple attendees in one go, with data for a few example attendees already filled in. The fields to fill in are first name, last name, email, role and voting rights, with the last 2 fields optional, country code and organization. The second spreadsheet gives you an overview, as a reference, of all the country ISO codes, so that the data can be easily inputted in our system. When you're done, go to the next tab. Here we'll learn to set up and choose the different interpreters. We've now arrived at the Interpreter tab. On this page you can add the interpreters you require to make your online meeting multilingual. Again, the green button on the right top of the screen is there to add people, so click on it. This will bring up another pop-up form in which we can choose an existing or create a new interpreter. We'll start out by creating a new interpreter. Click on the purple field in the form and then click on Create an Interpreter in the drop-down menu. The form now gives you the possibility to fill in the first name, the last name and the email address of the new interpreter we want to add. When we click on the field, Channel A, we get a drop-down menu where we can choose the first language the interpreter will be interpreting. We'll go for English here. In the field, Channel B, we will choose the second language he will be interpreting. We'll pick French here in the drop-down menu. The last thing we have to do now is press the Add Interpreter button, and we have added our first interpreter to the meeting. Now that we've added our first interpreter, we can add as many interpreters as we want with the same method by using the green Add Interpreter button. I've added 2 additional interpreters already, one for English and German and one for English and Italian. This page also has an import button which can generate Excel templates, so you'll be able to input multiple interpreters at once, like we did with the attendees earlier in this tutorial, so I won't be explaining this again, as the process is quite similar. Let's click on the next tab now. That will bring us to the QuaQua Connect settings. Here in the QuaQua Connect settings, we can choose the number of listeners that we want to allow to use QuaQua Connect. With QuaQua Connect, you can add simultaneous translation to another meeting platform, live event, or stream. Listeners can access the interpretation through a unique Connect link. If you click on the drop-down menu, you will see that the number of listeners can range from none to 5,000. When you click on an amount other than none, additional fields and buttons will show up on the page. For example, if you choose 500 listeners, you will be asked to fill in the following options. Is a PIN code needed to log in? And if so, you can set a PIN code. You can also turn on the option, Require an email address, so that only users with a pre-registered email address can use this service. You will also be able to see how many live listeners that are online at any given moment, and what the total amount of listeners was that used the service during the entire QuaQua Connect session. Contact info@quaquameeting.com if you want us to make the connection with your other meeting platforms like Zoom, MS Teams, WebEx, etc. Okay, let's go to the next tab now, QuaQua Hybrid. With QuaQua Hybrid, you can integrate the QuaQua platform with existing conferencing systems and hardware to offer a high-quality working environment for both attendees and interpreters. This allows you to meet in person while also enjoying the benefits of our online QuaQua meeting solutions. Contact info@quaquameeting.com to request the setup on site. We are almost done now with the preparations for our first multilingual meeting on the QuaQua booking platform. It's time to finalize our meeting. You can click on the Checkout tab now. When we get to the Order Details page, please make sure that all the details here are correct. The size of your planned meeting, small, medium, large or extra large. This depends on the number of attendees that are invited for the meeting. The correct time and date of the meeting, so that there are no misunderstandings about this. The type of prepaid pack you are going to use, or if you'll be doing a direct payment. The extra QuaQua services you've ordered, in this case, QuaQua Connect, with a total of 500 listeners. If the order details are correct, you can proceed to the payment by pressing on the Checkout button. If you don't want to check out yet, the meeting will be saved as a draft and can be accessed, changed or paid for at a later time. Just be sure to press the Save Changes button in the top right corner before you exit this page, so that your draft is saved. When you opted to check out right now and you haven't set up your billing information yet, you will reach this page. Fill in your company name, or your own name, your invoice email address, and click on the button, I have a VAT number, in case you have one. This will open a field where you can fill in your VAT number, so here we can input it, to keep the accountants happy. Then proceed filling in your complete billing address, and of course, don't forget to change the last field at the end of the form to the correct country, before pressing on the Continue button. QuaQua supports a large selection of payment platforms, so you can choose which is most convenient for you. We also sell package deals, which we will explain further in the tutorial about pricing and meeting packs. Once your payment went through, you will receive a page notifying you that the meeting is successfully booked. When you click on one of the green View Meeting Links buttons, you'll receive a link that you can forward to invite attendees with the optional PIN code included. If you have chosen not to go through the checkout process yet, because you might want to send a quote to someone else for approval, your drafts can, at any time, be accessed by clicking on the Back to All Meetings link. Now you see an overview of some example meetings we've made through the booking platform. Meetings that are marked with a gray tag are drafts that need to be finished or are still pending payment. Meetings that are tagged green are already booked and paid for. Meetings with blue tags are meetings that took place in the past. Meetings with purple tags are also already finished and have been archived. Thanks for using the QuaQua platform. I wish you success with your future meetings, and if you have any questions, you will find answers and online support on the support.quaquameeting.com page.